Well, first of all, I'm very excited to finally bring the show to India. I think I think India is the only place really. I mean, we've brought it to all continents on the earth, and India is sort of the last place that was still waiting to happen. And so this is very, very exciting for us.
All right. NMACC Culture Conversations is very, very proud to welcome Rainer Fried, Associate Director for the Phantom of the Opera. This is terrific news. The world's best loved musical, The Phantom of the Opera, makes its India debut at the Nita Mukesh Ambani Cultural Centre starting 5th of March. That's 5th of March. NMACC.com as well as bookmyshow.com. That's where tickets are available, and this is at the Grand Theatre. Rainer, thank you so much for joining me. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. It's a beautiful summer day in Sydney, and I couldn't imagine doing anything more pleasant than speaking with you today.
Lovely, thanks very much. Phantom of the Opera has now become the longest running musical on Broadway. It's also been running at the West End since the 80s, Rainer. What to you are the reasons for its resounding success on both sides of the Atlantic, or actually anywhere? I understand you've also taken it to Singapore. So even in
Well,
Asia, audiences have lapped it up.
well, I was just going to say it's actually it's not just been successful on Broadway and in the West End. It's actually been extremely successful all over the world. We've taken the show to, I don't know, I haven't even counted, probably something like 30, 35 countries in the last 35 years. We've done it in all languages you can possibly imagine. We've done it in German, we've done it in Danish and Flemish and Dutch, in Portuguese and Spanish and Russian, in Korean, in Chinese, Mandarin, and so you can see the show has really become a phenomenon, and it's not even really many people refer to it as a classic. I would refer to it as a phenomenon now, all around the world. And look, if I really could tell you, it's the $64 million question. If I could tell you exactly what the reasons are, I and many others would probably be very rich, but I do have my theories, and obviously it starts with the original creative team and with Andrew Lloyd Webber and who's composed the score way back in the 80s, and somehow something happened magically. Theater is always about magic, and if the magic is right, you get a hit, and if the magic is not right, you don't get a hit, and so I think that's where it starts. I also think that is the story, I think, has resonated with audiences around the world in a very, very unique way. It offers emotional reflection points to people to connect to it, and almost allows them to become part of the story as they're watching the show. And also, it's a romantic story, and I think in a world which is becoming less and less romantic, people are very much drawn to that.
You know, in India, we've grown up on musicals all our life. All our Bollywood movies are musicals. The
Yes,
song
I
and
know.
dance routine is intrinsic to our nature. So we're so excited about you coming to India. The question is, how excited are you bringing
Well,
Phantom of the Opera to India, to the majestic 2,000-seater Grand Theatre, the NMACC? Do you think it's only logical that Indian audiences will lap it up just like Western and other Asian audiences?
well, first of all, I'm very excited to finally bring the show to India. I think I think India is the only place really. I mean, we've brought it to all continents on the earth, and India is sort of the last place that was still waiting to happen. And so this is very, very exciting for us, as it is for India and for Indian audiences. Look, I would never make assumptions about audience reactions. I'm not presumptuous in that way, but let me put it this way: I'm quietly confident that the show will have a similar effect on people, and I'm also extremely a similar effect as it had all over the world, and still has all over the world. And I'm extremely excited to bring it to this beautiful new venue. I haven't been myself. In fact, it's going to be my very first time in India when I come to Mumbai later this month, and so it's very exciting to bring this show to this beautiful new venue. I've only just seen videos and photos, and it's the other thing that is so extraordinary about bringing Phantom to India is that Phantom, after all these years, still makes musical theater history. You just have to, I just have to stick with Phantom and go along in its journey, and I just hit milestone after milestone after historic milestone, and definitely, without a doubt, bringing Phantom to Mumbai is yet another milestone in its history, in its unprecedented history.
Speak to me about the great Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber, how his musicals have inspired you as a director in the theatre. I mean, all of us, even when in junior high school, when we first take to the stage and we do our first or second musical, it's got to be a Webber musical. I mean, that's how intrinsic he is to the musical theatre genre. And I'm sure he must have influenced you, inspired you. Speak to me.
Well, I have worked on two Andrew Lloyd Webber musicals. I obviously on Phantom for quite a long time. I've also worked on Love Never Dies, which is the sequel to Phantom of the Opera. I have to tell you, the one thing that always struck me about Andrew's scores and about Andrew's music is the richness and the depth of his musical storytelling. Andrew is just a great storyteller, and as a director, that is something as a self-respecting director, that is something I just inevitably feel drawn to. And I think for any director, it's his storytelling that is really phenomenal.
Now, in the music, which would be your favorites, and which have really been the most difficult ones to choreograph, Rainer?
Well, that's like you asking me which is my favorite baby. But I think that the strongest numbers are the ones that propel the story, and in fact, even pretty much every single number does that. And again, it's all about storytelling, and it's the numbers that propel the story forward, and it's the architecture, it's the musical architecture of the show. I think that is so phenomenal. And when it comes to choreography, I'm not the choreographer, but I'm pretty sure that if I asked my colleague, the associate choreographer of the show, she would probably say that the masquerade scene at the beginning of Act 2 is the most complex to stage and to choreograph. It involves the entire company. Every single actor of the company is on stage, and the principals, and it plays on this incredible, beautiful set. I'm not going to give away what it is. It's a magnificent staircase of the Paris Opera House, and it looks amazing, and it's a very complex show to choreograph. I know that because my colleague, the associate choreographer, usually spends weeks in the rehearsal room putting each piece together until the whole scene comes together. So in terms of choreography that by any measure is the most complicated scene to put together.
Wonderful. Now the actors who play the principal parts, that's Phantom, Christine, Raoul, speak to me about them. What their individual contribution has been to this amazing musical. I mean, every actor brings a part of himself or herself to any part, especially as complex as these characters are in Phantom of the Opera.
Absolutely, and that's something I very much look for, is what can bring each one of the actors individually to the story. I love rediscovering the journey of these characters with each actor. Each actor is different, and the most important and most exciting thing and most rewarding thing, I would say, a director can do is discover a language with the actors, and each actor is different. So you have to discover a language for each actor, how to communicate and how to go that journey together with the actors, and it's one of the most beautiful and most rewarding things. Let me talk about those three a little bit. We have the Phantom, played by Jonathan Rocksmith. Jonathan has been on the show and with the show, and has had for quite a long time now. He is from South Africa, and he was part of our, I think it was our second South African production. I think it would have been somewhere around 2010 or 2011, when he originally actually played Raoul. And as we sort of as the production progressed, and as it went out on tour in South Africa and all over Asia, we sort of discovered that this guy is extremely talented and has a real command as an actor, and has something mesmerizing about him, and so he began to play the Phantom, and the rest is history. And he's played Phantom for us for quite a long time now on tour, on the international tours around Asia, and it's wonderful. He's an extremely charismatic and complex character, and fun to work with, and has a great sense of humor. But when it comes to it, has a depth of life experience, it seems, which he brings to the role, and it's just a mesmerizing guy in the role, and we're very lucky to have him on this tour, and something tells me that Indian audiences are going to love him, just like audiences have loved him all over. And Christine is played by Grace Roberts, who, interesting story, she auditioned for us in London. She's from the UK, and she auditioned us just before the pandemic, and we loved her. We absolutely loved her. We wanted her in the show, and then somehow that couldn't happen because of the pandemic, because we had to interrupt the Asian tour, which was running at the time. And then we went back to London to audition about 1.5 years ago or so, and she came in again and sang again for us, just to refresh our memories, and we went away for a few days after the auditions, and then we all, by we I mean the creative team, my colleagues and the producers, came together on a call, and we all knew that Grace had to be our Christine on this leg of the tour, and she's a wonderful Christine, one of the best we've ever had. She has a freshness and a strength to her which I love, and her voice is unbelievable. And if anyone disagrees with that in India, talk to me. I don't think there'll be anybody. But should there be anybody, talk to me. She's just incredible, and again, we're lucky to have her. And then there's Raoul, played by Matt Lacey from the US, and Matt has been with us also for a number of years now. He was in the original production of this tour, which opened in Manila in 2019, I think. And he's been with us ever since, and he's an absolutely wonderful Raoul. He's a great singer, he's a charming personality, and he has all that we need from a performer for the role of Raoul. He has a warmth towards Christine, he's a protector. At the same time, he has a strength that is needed for Raoul, particularly when he sort of takes control of the situation, to bring it to a conclusion. And so Matt has all of that, and so we're lucky to have all three of these wonderfully talented actors and singers to play these three roles.
Lovely, wonderful nuggets there on the talent. Tell me about the live orchestra, the composition of the orchestra, Rainer. Does it have violinists, cello players, harp players, percussionists? Please tell all.
Well, it has most of it, but I have to tell you, Rishi, it's not just live, the orchestra. It's also mostly uh, local players. It's local players from Mumbai or from around India,
Wow.
and that is something that we're always extremely excited about. We've done this a number of times before. It's a wonderful thing to do to have local players in the pit, together with some of the folks that tour with us. We have some keyboard players that are touring with us, um, and um, and so we complement those with the rest of the orchestra, which are all who are all local, and we're very proud of that because it's a wonderful thing because it sort of connects us with the local arts
Sure.
community,
Yeah.
with the local arts industry, and so I can't wait to meet them. And so yes, we have almost everything that you named. We have violins, we have viola, cello, double bass, which we call the string section, and then we have a wood section, which consists of flute player and piccolo flute, clarinet, bass clarinet, bassoon, and the French horn, and all of those complemented by three keyboard players, and of course the conductor. And I can tell you, it's live, and they're terrific musicians, carefully picked by our music team, and conducted by our wonderful music director, David Caddick, and I can't wait to hear them, and I can't wait to hear them together with our touring cast, and bring all this together and have this sound to us out in the auditorium of this beautiful theater. It's going to be great.
You know, the costumes look so lovely on camera when you view them on YouTube or wherever you do. I can only imagine how grand they'll actually look up on stage at the Grand Theatre, the NMACC. The costumes for Phantom of the Opera, the color, the grandeur. You've got to tell us a little bit about them.
The costumes are originally designed by the late Maria Björnson, who's also, of course, designed the set for the show. And as I'm sure you know, much of this has become iconic. The set and the way the set moves, and so many elements of the set, which I'm now not going to point to because I don't really want to spoil too much for the Indian audiences. But certainly the costumes are one element of the show which have become iconic. They are beautiful. They take a very long time to make. They are very expensive, I can tell you. And there are about 350 of them. There are 350 costumes which are used throughout the show. Obviously, there are not 350 performers, but of course, each performer or many performers have costume changes, some of which actually take around 20 seconds. That's how much time they have to run off the stage, get a costume change. Sometimes they're surrounded by 4 dressers and wig people and sound people and stage manager to be out there on stage again in about 19 or 20 seconds. Anyway, the costumes are one of the real iconic elements of the show. They look amazing, and they are they are exactly as expensive as they look.
Wonderful. The show within a show format, right? I mean, within the Phantom of the Opera are a few operas playing out, which take the story forward. You really have to have some amazing trained singers. I mean, tenors, sopranos, the full works. I'd like for you to spend some brief time on the amazing singers and the singing itself in the Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt that the show is vocally extremely demanding, and the style of Andrew's score really requires singers with very solid and generally classical training. Some of the roles actually don't have to necessarily be cast with classically trained actors or singers. They actually allow for different vocal approaches. For example, the Phantom. We've had performers that were very much on the classical side, classically trained, and had a very classical approach to the phantom part. And then we've had and have performers who had a more modern training and the more modern, some would say pop, maybe. I don't really like the word, but it's certainly vocally a more modern approach. Jonathan is one of them, actually. His vocal approach is much more modern, and therefore is also extremely exciting.
You know, you've talked about the beauty of traveling the world with this incredible musical. How you've gone to various parts of the world, which is obviously very exciting for you. I'm going to flip that around. As an associate director, what's the most challenging part of traveling with the show to theaters around the world?
Well, there are obviously the technical aspects, because each venue is different, and while our set is extremely versatile and very flexible, and was designed and built so it could quickly move from one venue to the next without really making any compromises in the show, and certainly the show that Indian audiences in Mumbai will see is the show as it should be. There's not a single compromise there, and that is, I think, one of the biggest challenges to take a production like that from one venue to another, and also from one country to another. The other thing that is challenging to maintain is the detail of the show. There's so much detail visually, sound-wise, but also there's so much detail in the storytelling, and so it's really the detail of the performances which give the show its depth and its texture, and so protecting the detail of the show is really one of our highest priorities, and that can sometimes be difficult. You know, when the company travels from one country to another, often countries that they've never been to, they can easily get very preoccupied with life suddenly changing so suddenly and so extremely, and so to sort of bring them all together again in the space and to tune them into what we're actually doing, and to tune them into the show and rediscover and find all the details that makes Phantom of the Opera is challenging, but it's also joyous. It's a very joyous and a very rewarding task for me and my team, and so and it's a very exciting adventure.
There you have it. Tickets are live now at NMACC.com and at bookmyshow.com. Please get them right away. They're going away fast. At the Grand Theatre, NMACC, comes Phantom of the Opera, 5th of March onwards. Rainer Fried, Associate Director for the Phantom of the Opera, I really appreciate your time. This was an amazing conversation, and I'll come and find you backstage after one of your performances when you're here in India.
Please do, and I can't wait to meet you, and hopefully you're going to take me to some really authentic Indian restaurant, because I love authentic food and Indian food, and nobody in my team will ever go to dinner with me because nobody goes to places that I go to. So somebody's going to have to take me to have some amazing Indian food.
And I'm your man. Let's do it. Thank you, Rainer. Cheers.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Hrishi. Lovely to meet you. Bye.
94.3 Radio 1.